Trying to remember. I love cocktails. There's no tequila in a Capriosca, is there? I just won't talk for a second. Oh, I forgot to answer the end of that question. I'm going to do that first. All right, so taking a look under, and oh my goodness. Well, this is something dear to my heart. Make 10 cocktails to the best of your ability without the recipes. Well, that could be interesting. You have 3 lifelines where you can look at the recipes. Whew. I'm Gareth Cronin. I'm an Executive General Manager of Product at Xero. So Xero is a small business platform, but it's really at its heart, it's about accounting. It's about making it easy for small businesses to be able to do the things they need to do to stay in business and thrive. I tend to make cocktails using a recipe. So this is going to be intriguingly challenging, especially if I've only got 3 lifelines. So, how do you keep your team motivated, particularly in difficult times? A relevant question. Keeping that motivation is obviously really important. I think one of the things that I believe strongly in, and it's certainly something that we work hard on at Xero, is making sure that we're very human in the way that we go about doing things. And when we say human, we mean we're not just thinking about people as resources, cogs in the machine sort of thing, but we're thinking about their lives. It's really important with the team to think about, to know them as people. So what do they do at home? What are their families like? How are they rolling? Are they okay? Is everything actually going all right? That's a really strong lever for motivation as well. It's understanding how they go about doing their lives and how their lives might be a little bit different right now is a really important way of showing them that you care. People who believe that their workplace cares about them and believes that their manager cares about them, that their leader cares about them, they're always going to be a bit more motivated. Just wondering with this jigger, that only looks like half an ounce. So I'm going to make an espresso martini first of all, and I make espresso martinis embarrassingly often. So this one shouldn't be particularly difficult. If you have an espresso machine, there's really only one sensible thing to do with it other than make coffee, and that's make espresso martinis. So that happens quite a lot. Yeah. Now the second thing that I think is really important when it comes to keeping teams motivated is a shared sense of purpose. And so that's all about clarity. It's really important with an espresso martini that it is shaken really vigorously. So I just won't talk for a second. I might go with something slightly less shaker involved next. What do you consider before looking to promote someone? Oh, right. Okay, I'll pick a cocktail too while I'm thinking about that one. We'll do a dark and stormy. I cannot remember for the life of me the proportions, but I don't think that's going to matter. I think the thing with promotions, people are sometimes confused about, and teams and so on, is they believe they need to be promoted first into a role, and then they'll start doing the role once they've been promoted. And the thing about titles and roles and things is that anyone can do any kind of duties anytime they like, really. They don't have to have a specific title or role for it. There's an opportunity for them anytime to do that. And the easiest way to get promoted is to actually start doing the job you're hoping to be promoted into before you get promoted into it. Because then the question of whether it's the right time to be promoted into it isn't really a question. Of course it is, because you can already do the job. Right, I hope that's a dark and stormy. It doesn't look very dark. This reminds me of when people come over and they're like, oh, we've been looking forward to this. We hear you make cocktails, and then I spend the rest of the night in the kitchen behind the bar. What is the most dangerous trait in a leader's career? Ooh. I think I'll do a dry martini next. Right, most dangerous trait for a leader. That would be being sure of yourself, thinking that anything is somebody else's fault. So one of my golden rules of leadership that I always tell, particularly leaders of leaders, is that everything is your fault. Yeah, doesn't matter who did it or when or whatever. you created conditions in which it was possible for somebody in your team who you're responsible for to do something you really didn't want them to do. And so in the end, that's your fault. And so I think a dangerous trait would be if you were in a position where you were imagining that it is somehow you're miraculously steering the ship exactly the way that it should be, and all these other people are getting in your way and causing problems. I think, the older you get and the further on you get in your career, the more you realise you are wrong and the less you realise you are right. I'm going to move on to a Tom Collins, which is my wife's favourite drink. So this is a nice, easy one for me. What is the first thing you do when you get to work? Typically, the first thing I do when I get to work is throw my bag somewhere sensible and rush into a meeting room, because that is pretty much our lives, is moving from one meeting with one person to a meeting with a group of people and that sort of thing. On the way though, I will say hello to whoever I see. And one of the interesting skills of leadership, which I didn't know was a skill of leadership until someone actually pointed it out to me, is that it's really important to look happy. Even when things aren't going maybe as well as you would like. People watch leaders when they move around, and if the leaders look miserable, they assume something terrible must be happening. It's actually not okay to look miserable. Sure, you can, with a trusted person, vent or, explain, be human and everything. But in generally speaking, when you're walking around the office, I think it's really important to walk around the office with a smile. Moscow Mule. Ooh, okay. And does it require ginger beer? I think it does. Yes, I'm going to guess that that's it, because I'm going to need my lifelines for those other cocktails. Passion or hard work? What is more important to leadership in your opinion? Oh, yeah, it's probably hard work. I think it's probably not an optional thing. It's not like you get to choose one of those things. You can't say, oh well, you can just be like super passionate and everything's going to be okay. That wouldn't work. The passion, I think, needs to be there, but it's sort of like, in some ways, that's a bit cheap, Passion comes a little bit cheap. It's a bit like talent. It's really nice to have it and it's really useful and everything. But in the end, it's going to be hard work that actually gets things done. And hard work doesn't mean, like the number of hours you spend in the office or the number of tasks you get completed in a day or something like that. It's not about grind. It's about having to do the things that are hard, which tend to be like making really hard decisions where lots of points of view need to be considered. The passion probably helps if you're really passionate about something. It's great to have that as a way to motivate yourself, but there is no escaping hard work, particularly when making a Moscow Mule. Okay, I think it's more or less a Moscow Mule. I'm hoping it is. What are some things that help you to have a great day at work? Yeah, this is something that's actually worth thinking about really deliberately. So I'm going to make a Mai Tai while we're talking about this. We're running out of glassware. So things that help me to have a great day at work. I actually think about this quite a lot, because if you don't, one of the important things to do is to be quite deliberate about having good days at work. And the way that you can do that is by thinking about the things that give you energy. So the things that when you do them at work, you feel energized by them and you feel better afterwards. And then there's things which kind of take energy away. And the secret to it is to schedule your day so that it's not a whole day of being sad about having energy taken away. And so what I try to do is to take the things that I really, really enjoy and sprinkle them through my days to help me have a really, really good day. There we go. It's like we're ready to party. I love cocktails. So I'm Gareth Cronin. I'm the EGM of product at Xero. Today I answered your questions while making 10 cocktails, and I have to say I made 7 of these from memory. 3 of them I admittedly had to go to the recipe. That was very challenging. When I'm answering questions, I want to stop and think and wave my hands around, and you can't wave your hands around while you are chopping pieces of fruit, stirring things and shaking things. So that was a tough mental challenge. Because it's got some interesting ingredients. one of which isn't here.
We're on a budget.
And then I will pick up another question as soon as I've finished shaking. Sudden death.